This is the book Bones, and it's chapter 29. I think that's where I left off. Could be wrong, but that's where I was marked, so this is where I'm going to begin. Brandy Loring's body has been found on Apache Street near the western edge of Silver Lake, up 4 blocks north of Sunset. Four sloping blocks north of Sunset. The neighborhood was meager, frames houses, some no larger than shacks, more generous structures sectioned into rentals. The spot where Travis Huck had reported finding baby Brendine was a cracked, buckling sidewalk on its way to being trashed by the roots of a gigantic bayan. An hour and a half of door knocks up and down Apache produced quizzical looks and declarations of ignorance, mostly in Spanish. A woman named Maribela Almos, ancient and withered, but bright-eyed, and remembered the incident. The baby, nice person to do that, she said, brave. Did you know him, ma'am? Said Milo. Wish I did, very brave. Saving a baby, taken to the doctor, she said, all those gangbangers riding around shooting. It's better now. But back then, this banger were out at 3 in the morning. Anytime they want. Sometimes I'm sleeping and I hear gunshots. It's better now. Much better. You guys are doing a good job. Snatching Milo's big hand, she pressed it with the wizened lips. One of the few times that I've seen him caught off guard. Thank you, ma'am. Maribela almost let go of his hand and winked. I'd give you another one right on the lips, but I don't want your wife getting jealous. Next stop, the last known address for Brandy Loring's mother and stepfather. Anita and Lawrence Brackle had lived in a pink 2-story pre-war, divided into a quarter of an apartments. No one in the block had ever heard of the family, Brandy, or the baby-saving incident. The rest of the afternoon was spent cruising Silver Lake, showing Huck's picture to people old enough to be of potential use. Blank stares and head shakes. Milo dealt with failure by stopping at a street cart for 2 glasses of iced tamarind soda. Other vendors had set up bins of clothing on the sidewalk. He eyed the illegal display with amusement and drank with fever as cars bumped by the pothole-afflicted stretch of Sunset. Back in the car, he said, It was a long shot. You still want to find Leobowitz? Be my guest. I'm going back to the office, expanding the real estate search for neighboring counties, just in case Huck did manage to hitch a ride on the real estate train. Then it's old Hollywood, hot prawls. Maybe I'll find a severed hand. Any word on the Vanders? Not yet. And Buddy Weir keeps calling. Guy's starting to sound hysterical. I said, a lawyer who cares. He snorted. All those biblical hours down the tubes. 30 seconds of internet search brought up a Barry Leibowitz who'd come in 4th at a charity pro-am golf tournament held last year. Tres Alvos Golf Club and Leisure Life Resort in Palm Springs. The desert could be an affordable place for an ex-cop to retire, and I pulled up a group photo. Golfing Barry Leibowitz was a white-haired, mustached man of a right age standing in the back row. Further web surfing produced a follow-up piece in the club bulletin with capsules bios of 4 top amateurs, 2 dentists, 1 accountant, and Detective Leibowitz. Our law enforcement defer. Nowadays, he captures trophies instead of criminals. I phoned Tres Alvos, used my real name entitled, but made up a story about calling on behalf of Western Pediatrics. At the hospital, searched for Mr. Leibowitz, current mailing address. The trophy he won in our recent 9-holes, 4 kids tournament was returned by the post office, and we'd really like to get it to him. At worst, the club security would be cautious, verify with the hospital, learn I was on the staff, but that no such award existed. She said, "Here you go, doctor." I said, "Rancho Park's not fair. You play?" "Nope, I just know about Rancho. After OJ got sued, he went for the public courses." Liebowitz laughed. "OJ, thank God." I never got near that one. He brought over 2 stiff drinks and settled in a recliner. The first half of his glass went down in small, slow sips. He finished the rest in a single swallow. "Let's hear it for the Scots. So you want to know about Eddie Huckstrader?" That's the name that he was using back then. In terms of my case, it was one of the good guys, especially given his circumstances. What circumstances were those? He was a bum, he said. "Excuse me, a homeless individual who should have never been judged by convictional standards." Laughing, he reached for the bar, poured himself another finger of whiskey. "Truth is, doctor, I don't judge, not anymore. Once you get away from the job, you start to get a different perspective. Like with Sturgis, back when I started, you'd never get me working with someone like that now. He's got the chops. Hell, who cares about his outside life?" He studied me. If that offends you, what can I say?" "No offense taken." Huckstrader left the scene. "How do you find him?" "Sheer brilliance." More laughter. "Not quite." Hospital described him. I guess the description to patrol, a couple of our uniforms knew knew who he was right away from working the boulevard. Eddie was just another street guy. He picked him up the next day. He hung out at Hollywood, used to panhandle outside of the Chinese theater, and farther up near the Pantages, wherever the tourists were, I guess. Had his hair long and pierced nose, the whole freak thing. That's what they were back then. Not hippies anymore, freaks. Did patrol know him from prior arrests? Nope, just as a bum. He was distinctive. That crooked mouth of his, plus the limp. He screwed up his own lips. The mustache went along for the ride. They brought him to me, and I questioned him. He gave the same story he gives the nurses at the hospital, but by the time that he was irrelevant anyway. The case was closed. Instant guilty plea by the bad guy, some scrotum named Gibson DePaul, Gibby, pronouncing the nickname with lingering contempt. He sipped the refill. Still, patrol goes to the trouble to follow through. I'm not going to make them feel they wasted their time. I rode cars myself. 10 years in Van Nuys, or not Nuys, then 4 in West Valley, before I decided to use this, tapping his head. Instead of this, doing the same for his biceps. A brawny arm hoisted. Down went the rest of the second scotch. I used to live in the valley, back when my wife was alive. That's good stuff. They got it in the sherry barrels. You don't like it? I drank, savored the taste, then the burn. I like it a lot. Liebowitz said, Huckenstrader became a serious bad guy. Sturgis told me it's almost kicked me over. I missed that completely. You didn't hear about it on the news? Nah, never watched that crap. Life's too short. Gotta 19-inch in the bedroom where it's on, and it's turned to sports. So Huckenstrader didn't seem violent? Nope. But it's not like he spent much time together psychoanalyzing. Still, you're surprised? I'm always surprised, said Liebowitz. Keep you young. What I said before, flexibility. What was Eddie like back then? Just another sad case, Doc. Hollywood's always full of them. All of the glamour that isn't. He's got no adult record, meaning he was a juvie offender. He spent some time at CYA by the case was reversed. What kind of case? Said Lieberwitz. I described Huck's manslaughter conviction, the crooked mouse probably the result of a head injury while in custody. Well, he said, I can see that making a guy angry. Huck seemed angry. Nah, just scared. Like he didn't like being out in the daylight. Drug problem? Wouldn't surprise me. Dope, booze, or being crazy is what gets people living on the street. But if you're asking, did I see track marks, a raw nose, was he speed talking or spaced out or hungover? The answer is no. No overt craziness either. Guy was coherent, told the story logically from A to B, and most I could say about him was that he looked depressed. Over what? I assumed over the way that his life had gone. Being homeless, it's easy to get beaten down, right? I wasn't there to be his shrink, Doc. I took the report when he was through, and I offered him a ride wherever he wanted to go. He said no thanks, and he liked to walk. Now you're telling me he's serious bad news? That's disconcerting, Doc. My missing all the signs. Is there evidence that he was struggling or strangling girls back then? No. No, or not yet. Not yet. Those Marsh murders, they're definitely his. Circumstances seem to point that way. Damn, he said. What do you know? I didn't see a sign like that. Nothing. I said, maybe there were no signs. He was crafty. Hid his dark impulses. Yep, I said. That was what I meant. It took until nightfall to make contact with Milo's mobile. I said, any interesting hot prowls? Only interesting ones were closed. The rest are simple burglaries, jewelry, stereos. No panty thieves, nothing creepy, and so far Huck's avoided the real estate boom. He owns nothing. You might not want to spend much more time at the assessors. 10 years ago, he was homeless. Hard to see him building up enough equity. Hard to see him jumping from that to estate manager. Maybe the Vanders really do have tender hearts. I said, or by the time they met him, he'd turned his life around. Not fine, but how would people like them meet someone like him? I thought about that. Couldn't have been through a temp job. Huck working as a waiter or bartender at a charity function or just a chance encounter. He fools them into thinking that he's reformed, and we're talking mushy heart Alex, the kind of idealism that might lead them to donate to the Marsh. Silence. He said, interesting. Unfortunately, I can't find any list of Save the Marsh contributors, and Alma Reynolds claims there's no formal fundraising group. Billionaire Bucks fund the entire operation, which seems to be rent and $25,000 for Duboff's salary. I'm wondering if Duboff might have supplemented, as in the blood, plastic guy with the envelope that Chance Brandt saw. If that was a payoff, what was Senor Bondo getting from Duboff? Don't know, but it's possible Duboff saved up some extra cash despite a low salary, and Alma got hold of it. I described the huge pearl Reynolds had tried to conceal, how she'd bought it shortly after Duboff's death, lied about its being a gift from him. He said, or she splurged on herself and was embarrassed to admit it, being a self-denying vegan, as centric and all of that. She eats fish, I said. Steak wouldn't surprise me. Hypocrite. Holding something back. The minute she saw me, she tried to hide that pearl. Then she switched tactics and flaunted it, as if daring me to make a big deal out of it. But my seeing it clearly through her. Instead of returning to work, she went home. And maybe the food didn't agree with her, okay? Yeah, you might be on some financial shenanigans, but that doesn't mean it's related to the murders. And if Duboff was hiding cash. It wasn't at his apartment. I went over the place myself. At some point I can brace some old Alma, but not right now. Too much going on, as in finding Mr. Huck. The airport fake-out may be stale, but it works. And not a hint of where he is. I said, maybe he'll write. Wouldn't that be lovely? Until Milo is so lonely. Or Uncle Milo is so lonely. Chapter 30. The next morning brought no call back from Milo or Reed, and neither detective was answering the phone. I'd woken up warmed by sunlight and thinking about Travis Huck. Petra and Milo were right. A single act of kindness meant nothing because psychopaths are great actors, and a facade of altruism lets them pursue the cruelty they love. Public admiration feeds the lust for control and attention, and the look at me tango. The Marsh murders reeked of exhibition, choosing hallowed ground for the dump site, calling the murders in and storing bones in a pretty box. Why face 4 women east? Not much had been made of that since the first day. The only thing that I could think of was geographic symbolism. Nadine Vander was Chinese-American, and her last sighting before San Francisco had been Taiwan. Simon had flown in from Hong Kong. Was all of this really revolving around the family? Or were the Vanders just the crowning glory of the bloody orgy? Destroy the rich and powerful and inherit their souls. If that was the motive, why not flaunt their bodies? But the only victim on display was Selena, an outwardly shy young woman who'd entertained at literal orgies before graduating to pain games. However, I tossed it around, and the killings kept coming back to sexual serial, and maybe the link to Vanders was another young woman. Had Nadine been Huck's target all along, as Reed had suggested, lady of the manor, viewed from afar and with lust and longing, her husband and son, collateral damage? Maybe Travis Huck was capable of all of that, but his 10-year-old acts of mercy hadn't been attention-seeking, just the opposite. He'd fled the moment Brandine Loring's health was confirmed. Or maybe even back then, Huck had dark secrets that he didn't want exposed. Raised by an alcoholic mother, locked up, and abused until his rescue at 18, his life until the second rescue by the Vanders remained a mystery. A lot could happen during a decade and a half on the streets. I spent another hour on it, and ended up with addled and popping Advil to kill a massive headache. Shifting to robot work, I cleared billing, straightened my office, and took a run, and wound down by walking Blanche for 15 minutes and stretching and showering. I told Robin I needed to drive. She wasn't surprised. No sign of Alma Reynolds' yellow VW on 14th Street. I phoned the doctor where she worked. Out sick. For all I knew, Milo had found the time to reel her in, and she was sitting in a West LA interview room. I tried him again. Still no answer. Mo Reed's guess about Huck staying in his comfort zone made sense, and I wondered if the same applied to Alma when it came to buying jewelry. Looking up shops in Santa Monica, I found 2 that specialized in pearls. The first turned out to be false advertising, a booth in an antiques barn that specialized in costume gems. The second, Lee Narche on Montana, featured gray velvet cases of strands and solitaries, including the large South Sea marbles. I studied tray after tray of gleaming orbs, white, black, gray, greenish, bluish, gold. No prices on display. In a center case I spotted a pendant that could have been the twin of Alma Reynolds' guilty pleasure. The saleswoman, 40ish, frosted blonde and fox-faced, wore a black lacquer laced suit that steamed torture at the gym. She let me browse before gliding my way and pointing to the pendant. "It's beautiful, isn't it?" Beautiful and huge, I said. That's what you get with South Sea size and quality. This one's a full 17 millimeters. They can go as high as 20, but you rarely see 17s with such excellent luster, shape, and nacre. That's the thickness of the outer layer. This one is solid millimeter, good shape and smooth, and it's our last one. You had several? We had two. They came in from Australia, and the other one sold just a few days ago. Trust me, this one will also move fast. Quality always does. Lucky woman, I said. Birthday or guilt gift? She smiled. Which is your situation? Birthday. But give me enough time, and I'm sure there'll be guilt. She giggled. I'm sure you're right. No, actually, a woman bought it for herself. Said her mother had always worn pearls, and it was time to treat herself to something nice. This is more like nice. May I look at it? Oh, absolutely. As she unlocked the case, I received a mini course on pearl grading and culture. What's your wife's skin tone? Is it your wife? Why, quibble. It is. She's got Spanish and Italian blood. There's some rose in her complexion, but it's mostly olive. I can tell you that you love her, she said. When a man can describe a woman that easily, he's got deep feelings for her. Rose with mostly olive means that this would work perfectly for her. The pinkish ones are even more valuable than the creams. We had one of those a few months ago. A 16 went out the door, the same day it arrived. But pink doesn't work for everyone. Olive ladies do better with cream, and I'm sure that she'll adore it. How much? She flipped a tiny tag, examined a code, and lucky for you, we bought, well, so 6,400, including the chain, which is 18 karat and handcrafted in Italy, and had these adorable little diamond chips spaced perfectly. I'd definitely advise leaning it with the chain. They're a perfect match, and we make sure of that. I said, people take them off. What would you do with a loose pearl? Exactly. But people get ideas. The lady who brought the other one wanted only the pearl. She said that she had her own chain. I figured that she meant something antique from her mother. And then she pulls out a cheap plated thing, real junk. She stuck out her tongue, saving a few bucks. It hurt me to see the pearl displayed that way. But people can be strange. She sure was. Had her own ideas, not the type that you'd think would appreciate something of this quality. She touched the chain. She does your wife get to be ecstatically happy before you go to do something naughty. Any flexibility on price? She said, for you I could take off 10%. Make it 20 and you've got a deal. I'm sorry, she said. 15's the best I can do. When you consider what a large diamond costs, it's an incredible bargain. I really don't know much about pearls, but I do, and trust me, it's worth it. 17's off the absolute rock bottom. You're lucky it's me and not my husband. At that price, there's barely a profit, and when Leonard comes in and finds out what I did for you, he won't be happy, touching my wrists with warm, smooth fingertips, and gilt gifts for him are no picnic. Robin's big brown eyes expanded like kaleidoscope discs. What did you do? Impulse buy. I'll say, it's gorgeous, baby, but way too big for me. Looks fine to me. When would I wear it? We'll find an occasion. Really, Alex, I can't. Wear it once. You don't like it. Back it goes. You are something. Several moments in front of the mirror later, I love you. First, your skin tone fits your skin tone perfectly. It's so wrong for me. Huge. You got it. Flaunt it. She sighed. Darn. You really don't like it? Not that kind of darn, she said. Darn if I'm not going to make it work. A long dinner at Bel Air, wine, lovemaking, KO'd me hard enough for a decent night's sleep, but memories of the pearl against Robin's chest brought me fully awake. Now the necklace was displayed on our bedroom dresser, and when I peeked out the kitchen window, her studio light glowed. I tried Milo again, finally connected to his cell, and asked if he'd reached Alma Reynolds. Instead of answering, he said, "Just got a call from my crime scene buddies. Travis Huck's room in the mansion was clean, but they found blood in his bathroom drain. Type AB. We've got no typing on Huck, so theoretically it could be his, but you know how rare AB is? What's the chance of two people turning up with it? Who's the first? Simon Vander." Medical examiner called Simon and got a confirmation. Daddy was always getting hit on the donut. Reed also talked to Simon, and she's going to give a DNA sample, see if that can be linked. She's freaking out, pretty much over the edge. Wouldn't surprise me if Aaron Fox shows up offering to help us poor dumb yokels. Meanwhile, I've got a call into His Holiness. This should be enough to name Huck a flat-out suspect. Gets a full court press on the search. No blood anywhere except the drain, I said. Sink and shower? Just the sink, Alex, which is totally consistent with the bad stuff happening elsewhere. Huck spotting a stain on his clothes and deciding to wash it off. He was careful to scrub the sink itself. In fact, the level of clean in his room is just as suspicious as if luminol had turned the place purple. The place was gone over. What the bastard didn't figure out is our taking the plumbing apart. Is that routine procedure for the techies? It is when I tell them to do it. I'm thinking that the Vanders were lured to San Francisco. He picked them up at the airport, did them somewhere in southern or central California, and buries the bodies, drove back to LA, and kept up the loyal employee facade. All those forests up the coast. Oh yeah, I said. A lust thing for Nadine would explain, facing the bodies east, looked to the orient, his breath quickened. What? I'm getting that feeling, Alex. Stuff coming together. Listen, I gotta keep all my lines open in case Zeus calls from Olympus. If you want to help, see if you can come up with a hypothesis as to where Huck's hiding. Travis Huck as prime suspect made the 6 o'clock news in the papers. A renewed hush of sightings kept Milo and Mo Reed and 2 other detectives busy for the next 48 hours. Nothing panned out. I tried to work up a guess as to where Huck might be burrowed, looked at maps and drew blanks. After 2 days of looking at her pearl, Robin locked it in the safe. I drove to Alma Reynolds' apartment, spotted her. VW knocked on her door. Who is it? Alex Delaware. You are stalking me. Go away. $6,000 for a pearl, I said. Mom would be proud. The sound she emitted couldn't have been rage or fear. Silence, said that she hadn't taken the bait. I sat parked up the block for nearly an hour, and just as I was about to give up, she hurried out of her building, got in the yellow bug. I followed her to Washington Mutual on Santa Monica Boulevard. She stayed in the bank for another 42 minutes, then drove to the ophthalmologist's office building, but after a brief pause kept going, headed back to Pico, stopped at Korean barbecue on Centinela. Glass window in front, easy to follow the action. I waited until her order arrived. Massive plates of ribs, mug of beer. I said, "Celebrating?" She gasped and sputtered, and for a second I thought that it was Hemlich time. Chewing furiously, she swallowed. Her teeth ground. Go away. Just because the pearl's in a safe deposit box doesn't mean you can't keep it. I don't know what you're talking about. Mom might be proud of your taste in gewgaws, but would she approve of the financing? Get the hell out of here. You put up with Duboff for years. See yourself as his rightful heir, and I take no issue with that. The problem is how he got the money, even if it can't be linked to a crime. The IRS is sure to be interested. She lifted a rib, and for a second I thought that she'd use it as a weapon. Why are you doing this to me? It's not about you, I said. It's about 4 other women. I touched the rib. Bones. She turned a bad color. shot up and ran to the bathroom. 5 minutes, 10:15. I went back, found both lobs empty. A rear door led to an alley that stank of garbage. By the time that I'd returned to the front of the restaurant, the VW was gone. There's the end of those two chapters. Subscribe if you like my content, and till next time. I'm on chapter 31.